I mean, I don't see myself folding ace jack here, to be honest, where he could be jamming so many combo draws, 10-8, queen 10, spades, diamonds, ace 4, ace 5. Yeah. Yo, welcome to today's live play, playing Zoom 500 on Pokerstars. Haven't been playing for a while, cash game. Really enjoy this format. I'm not a cash game player. I'm beating Zoom 500 though, and yeah, I really enjoy playing cash games. It's definitely one of the toughest cash games you can play. For the last several years, I'm always trying to practice cash game as much as possible. I definitely have some leaks in my games, that's for sure. However, I believe that you can still make some money with cash games, of course. And I will go here for a squeeze with 8-7 suited. I think it's a good hand here for the small blind. 6-7 suited performs quite okay against a 3-betting range. Prefer calling a hand than like ace jack. Off suited, I mean suited would be a fist pump snap call. And yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, with these live plays, it's always tough to say. You can't really plan the session ahead. Don't really have so many reads on the players. The most accurate read I can get out of the players is how many tables they play. Queen A10, definitely want to start with bigger sizing here. And Jack 10 suited, I'm just going to fold against his 3-bet. The problem is that from this position, his 3-betting range is going to be, like, even this bluffs are going to be Queen Jack, King 10 suited. And even also more multi-way now, I'm just going to fold. I'm in the sandwich. His overcalling range is going to be 10s, jacks very often, so all my outs are going to be blocked. Ace 5 off, we also have an easy fold. Definitely need to be aware of not having antis in play. So definitely going to adjust my ranges here quite a bit. Poor, he is a regular, he's 4 tabling. My weak king, I'm going to check back. I'm also very susceptible for check raises on this board. I don't have 10s. I might also be 3-betting 8s. I don't have kings. I don't have ace king. I probably don't even have ace king. See Don, he seems to be a recreational, just plays 1 tables. Maybe he also plays normal tables, so I don't want to say he's a fish, but yeah. If he only plays 1 table, zoom. And we are going to call a river bet as well. Our range is very 10x heavy, some 8x, but I definitely want to be value betting. I think he could be value betting queens, jacks, he could be value betting a 10 on the turn after we check back. Don't want to go too big. But blind versus blind top pair. He definitely needs to bluff catch some queens, some jacks. Of course, I'm also betting some of my draws on the flop, but I'm not going to bluff every draw. Um, 10-9 on the turn here in the limp pot. I'm going to check call, and he has Queen 10. Going to put the replayer down here. I hope this is still big enough. Yeah, reverse easy check forward. We would be raising a lot of jack 10s on the turn, so I'm not getting fancy here, especially against a recreation player. We don't need to have a bluffing range here, so I mean, bluff catching wouldn't be too bad, but the problem is, and we don't really block spades. We have the 9 in spades. Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad to bluff catch. I mean, he has a bunch of ace jacks. I mean, king jack, king 10 improves his 6-7, 6-5 flush draws. I think folding is fine. This is fairly close against the cutoff range against 2.5x. But I think it should be okay. Ace-9 suit, I'm going to call. Against an overbet, I just want to call. It's a very good strategy by him. This kind of board, I will have a hard time continuing with some 9x and some 6x, but his range is going to be very, very polarized. I would be bluffing something like 6-7. Some weak. I don't want to block king highs. He has a lot of king jacks in his. Well, actually block king jack. We block king queen. Might be not too bad. He bets quite big on the flop. I think his range is very, very polarized. So I want to go for a block bet and maybe induce a raise. Not really sure why he overbets the flop and checkbacks the turn. Yeah, I expected him to have these kind of like hands that want to apply immediate fold equity from so he has 5 immediate fold equity against the 6. Like if I have 8-6, I have to fold against the overbet. King jack with a backdoor flush draw, I would start betting. Without a flush draw, I check back just simply because of having more equity. Also gives me a very disguised hand if I hit my queen, because everyone perceives to bet every king jack. But we don't have jacks, we don't have queens, we 3-bet some 10s. So if we start betting your king jacks, your queen jack, your 7-8s, your maybe 6-8 suited, maybe some jack 8 suited, you're going to be heavily over bluffing. And I think now we can start betting here against some ace highs. Definitely going to bluff the river because we don't block. He can have ace jacks, ace queens. We don't block ace queen. We don't block spades. We can have a pot control 10 or aces. That's very interesting. That's an interesting line. He's one tabling, so recreational. But I'm definitely, even if he has aces in his range, it's fine. Hey, this is actually the sizing I'm not usually applying. I'm just going to call my aces here. Since I open raise bigger, the stack to pot ratio is going to be quite big post flop. I used to play quite a lot of sit and goes with him. Going for a small bet. I do have a lot of 5, 6s, 10, 9s sets that can even actually play for stacks. If he raises, I can at least call once. It's very interesting. I'm at a position I just want to call. I mean, if I think that he's fucking around, I can also just jam my 10, 9s, 6s, and 5s. But just want to call, play a turn. I have ace 8 suited, 8, 9 suited. The money goes in anyway. And again, just betting small. Even if I have a hand like, let's say, I mean, I could also check back. I think if he has a 9, if he has a flush draw, he would just be jamming. Actually, I'm going to check back the turn. The reason why I size it up with ace 5 in clubs here is that I think I'm just going to jam. If I mean, it's really hard for us to have bluffs. We might have ace-5, ace-6 suited. But we were just betting small with our nut flush. So maybe things when we bet small, we have it. We can have, I mean, it's hard to really have bluffs. We have ace-5, ace-6 suited. Yeah, and again, I also think that he's just fucking around on the flop. I mean, the sizing, his small check, min check raise. I mean, against the min check raise, our range is still relatively wide. We still have, I think I would still peeling something like ace-9 suited, which would be a really good barrel hand. But the 10 is really good for our range. Ace-7 off is definitely a little bit closer. If I have something like ace-7 in hearts, ace-7 in clubs, it would be great flop to check raise. Against hijack, I would certainly fold. Gonna call once. He's two tabling, so he might be a wreck. Jack 9 off would be a very easy open. Queen Jack off is a raise fold here. I'm not going to continue against 3 bets. He's one tabling, so he might be recreational. Going to see bet this board. I do have a lot of hands that want to put in a lot of money, like right away. Ace-10, King-10 needs a lot of protection. Can at least play 2 streets for value. Jacks, queens. And we have immediate fold. If we bet 2/3, he cannot really continue with his king queens, king jacks. But if I bet 1/3, he's going to continue with 2 overs and a lot of back to equity, certainly. So, I mean, he's a recreational, so I try to pick my size. He's a little bit more exploitive. Queen jack off, we're going to open. And also a little, since now the recreation is in the big blind, I mean, he's one tabling. And the way he played aces, I think, earlier, I think he's recreational. I want to, especially when there's a regular in the small blind, I want to knock out the small blind by choosing a little bigger sizing from the button. Queen deuce 3 with queen 7. It's going to be a mix of checking and betting. Pretty much randomizing ace jack 9. Board that we want to be checking out of position with almost our entire range. I go for a lead. Now, since he didn't stab, I can have a very, very wide leading range here with even king highs and ace highs just to protect my equity. He would be betting a lot of queen x, deuce x, and 3x on the flop. So now ace highs and king highs increase significantly in terms of equity. Yeah, I have way more better hands than this one to continue. So even like king queen with queen and spades is much better. Very easy fold there. I'm going to 3-bet here. My jack 10 suited. The bluffs, the hands you want to be bluffing with are exactly those kind of hands, especially when you're 100 big blinds deep. Queen 7 off, queen 7, queen 8 off is pretty much the bottom of hands I would be v-pipping from the small blind. By the way, I'm recording with OBS and then accidentally he seems to wreck. Oh, timed out. Yeah, I think Jack 8 suited is very, very close here. But it's still good enough to defend. What I was about to say, yeah, I accidentally hit the streaming button, so I just went live on Twitch, and people were wondering what the fuck is going on. Hands I want to be bluffing here are hands like pocket deuces, 4s, 6s, 4 without better pairs. Some like 7-8s, 7-6 suited, without diamonds, which I can also use as barrels against or on runouts where it's diamond or a four card diamond. And then we can use these hands as a bluff. Yeah, very easy call. We could even consider raising, but I think this is also this kind of delayed bluffs. Against a very good opponent, I would certainly mix in some raising for value. Here I immediately bet quite large on the flop to also protect against queen jacks, king tens that would be peeling against a 1/3 sizing. And river, we have an easy fold. It's a really, really good run out for his range, a really bad run out for our range. Yeah, it's really hard for him to have any bluffs, so I'm just going to fold. We have some 7x and 10x as well that we can bluff catch with. I don't think we should fold a pair that often against this sizing. I mean, I prefer calling a pair than an overpair. It's very important. I mean, against this sizing, we probably want to be calling any overpair anyway, but it's really good to block 2 pairs. But yeah, we also bet the flop quite big. I just don't see any hand there anymore. Against 3x, I'm calling. Usually I would be folding king jack, but if he 3-bets out of position with that small sizing, I'm certainly not folding. Costas. And now with the river, we have an easy fold. We have a very, very bad kicker here that blocks all his barrels with clubs. King 9 off against him. We're definitely calling. 5-3 suited here, we can overcall. He pot bets. Usually I would check raise against the small sizing, but mostly going to call down this hand. Taking almost his entire time bank for his turn decision. That's interesting. I'm going to check all the river. Betting would be fine as well. Jack 8 off. That's very unfortunate. Queens, we can call, we can 4-bet. Cutoff, I prefer a little bit more the 4-bet. Flop, we just call. And we just call down here. I mean, we have tens, we have jacks, we have some 9x. Yeah, I mean, this is really, really nasty, but he can. I was just about to say he could be block betting jacks and oh, this guy just open jams. All right. Yeah, queens I would mix between 4-betting and calling pre-flop. Raising flop is fine as well, but we have so many middling hands, so if you start raising, let's say your strong hands on the flop, you can get really fucked on some runouts. He seems to be a wreck. King 10 off would be raise fold here. And definitely want to start betting big. It's a very good for our small blind raising range. Also with our bluffs, we want to start applying maximum pressure. Queen 10 off, we call. That's actually quite interesting. We have a good hand. I mean, we have ace 9, we have ace 3, pocket 3s. I think queen 10 here with the queen and hearts is a fine hand to check raise. We unblock a lot of king highs that he might be bet folding with. I think I go for a check raise on the flop against. I think he's going to be stabbing a lot of 4s to 10s. We block ace jack. We block 3s. And we take it down. I think king 7 deuce for a small blind 3-betting range, he will very go. Yeah, I was about to say that against a small sizing, I would peel, but against a half pot, I'm folding. Very good board for our big blind range. He should be checking it back quite often. Going to be block betting just against queen jack, jack 10s. We should be leading pretty much anything here since we have so many 3x, so many 8x, so many 2 pairs. That even allows us to lead our ace 5s, king 5s, 10 5s. King jack suited. Suited, we fold. I think I'm just gonna go call. He has a stack size where these players behind, they might want to get it in with 10s, 9s, jacks squeeze against him. It's something you also want to do in tournaments between 20 and 30 big blinds. Mix in more traps with those sort of hands, incentivizes the players behind. I mean, if we 3-bet, they're just gonna fold 7s and 8s, right? But if we call, they might. I just think he's check folding anyway. His timing tests where you insta check flop, insta check turn. He didn't really seem to be any interested at all. I am just going to block bet against, I might get some value from ace nines and king nines and all that sort of stuff. I'm just gonna rejam ace jack off here. Even we have a gutter. Don't want to be c-betting this board with too many hands. If I have queen nine in spades, I would be check calling or c-betting. I mean, we do have some sets on this board and some strong hands, but so do the others. And they don't have, especially Button, he doesn't have queen jack off or king jack off. Just gonna make a tight fold here. King 7 suited, easy open. I'm going to check back the flop. If I want to c-bet and barrel, it would be more something like king jack or ace jack. A jack could be, like, I have a very weak draw. I'm gonna call it. And this is a good river that we can bluff with, actually. Checking back is fine as well. We then don't have a good blocker hand, but I think it's just we're so much bottom our range. I'm just gonna check back. With a club we can barrel. Interesting river. Jack 9, Jack 8. I mean, he certainly shouldn't have too many Jack X. I think they would be raising. I'm gonna ISO raise this guy here. That's even close against under the gun range. If he min raises, I would call. Going to bet turn as well. And let's see. If he jams, I'm gonna hate my life. Jimbo 7-7. Don't mind the fold. If the river breaks a lot of draws, I would go for a check call. On a table with full of racks, I don't want to be opening all deuces and threes from under the gun. I prefer, it's much better to open hands like Jack 9 suited, Queen 9 suited. And also people apply bigger 3-bet sizings, what I have discovered here in Zoom 500 than in tournaments. So it's much harder for you to peel against 3-bets and set mine. Ace Queen off, we certainly go for a 3-bet or we just take the big blind. Ace Jack 7, I go for a pot bet. Ace Queen 7 would be a little bit better, but we apply immediate fold equity against the 7 that won't be able to continue. This is a good card, especially since we have the Queen and hearts. We can continue barreling on hearts. The problem is, I just figured he's a recreational. And I'm not a big fan to try to bluff recreationals off their top pairs. Against the rec, it would be, I think, a good pot bet. We have so little bluffs. And we block ace queen. But against the recreational, he just snaps you off with ace 4 off. I mean, he might be a reg, but he's just one tabling. Ace jack, we go for a check raise on the flop. Unless he could be also good opportunity for him with a good board to apply some larger sizings, pot size, over bets. Yeah, against this sizing we can raise. Oops. Also, cutoff range is still relatively loose. He has a lot of king jacks, queen jacks, jack tens. Top pair, top kicker is certainly good enough to go for at least 2 streets. I think I fucked up a little my sizing. That's really weird. I mean, I don't see myself folding ace jack here, to be honest, where he could be jamming so many combo draws, 10-8, queen 10, spades, diamonds, ace 4, ace 5. Yeah. And we hold. I think it's a good jam by him. I would definitely bet fold some weaker jack X. It's also fine float by him on the flop. I mean, he can turn so many sick cards. And I will also bluff some 4-5, 6-5s. Big blind is quite good, so I prefer 3-bet here. A little bit over 4x. 6-5 suited, I'm going to call here. Really being that deep, I really prefer three-betting more nutted hands. I'm gonna raise here, protect my hand against the lots of nut potential. Gonna bet the turn. Jacks, I'm going to 4-bet, broke, and now we have an easy fold. With an 4-bet in front of us. 3-bet, called 4-bet, yeah, okay. The thing is that we would still perform quite okay against his range, but there's still 2 uncapped ranges behind. That makes it very, very dicey. Going to call it, of course. I would barrel some weaker hands. Queen Jack is a very good candidate. Queen Jack clubs, flush draws. We have some 8-9s, of course. Easy call. You could be even raising a deuce or 4 for protection. I'm just trying to check it down now. I think we're going to be running a lot into ace king though, or ace queen, but I think that queen jacks would be very often bluffing turn a river. You want to see ace king, we have no ace jack. That's very interesting. Checks it twice. Good to keep in mind against him. I don't mind it. Mixing up your frequencies, sometimes betting your flush draws. By doing so, you also remain a little bit more unpredictable. Squid king. He's one tabling. Also, his sizing isn't good for the situation here. Going to call the 8-5 suited against another gun. Might be even actually fold in Zoom 500 without antes against his 3x. Ooh, but can't be too bad. I think he should be c-betting this flop, but checking is fine too. Going to check raise. Protect my hand. As you can see, I check raise a lot on paired boards. I also do have more 4x, especially the suited ones. That is so weird. I'm definitely going to. Okay, this is a spot where I just think he should never be. We block 5s, which is very important. And I think he's trying to freeze raise with his over pairs. And let's try to barrel him off his over pairs. Oh my god. Should we really try to represent quads? Alright, okay. That's the worst turn possible. Maybe bet small, we can go for a check jam. Oh, we even ahead. 6s, 7s. Yeah, we've shot 6s, 7s. 6s. Alright. I think you should have a re-raising against me. Because I'm definitely also going to be aware that he's exactly going to have those hands and... Oh, sneaky, sneaky. Got a bit lucky on the river. But that's why you at least want to do it with a bit of equity against an under the gun range. And good blockers. I'm going to 3-bet forward against this guy here. Don't need to make it so big. He's rather short. Soldier Roy. That's a very nasty spot. Against both ranges, king, queen off is in trouble. And it might be a mistake to call, but it can never be a huge mistake since we have the position advantage. Just going to check back. This is a really bad board for our range. Better board for his range. We'll also be checking back with aces, kings, queens with a certain frequency, some flush draws to protect my range. Good turn. And we're going to value bet. It's a good spot for him to raise insanely big. He can go for delay check raise. He can still have way more nutted hands than we have. So he can go for like, yeah. But king jack, we're so far up. Like, blocks ace queen Ace Jack, Queen Jack. It's actually a good raise by him. And we go broke here with kings against our friend from Greece. We bet 1/3. We're going to have 200. Really bad turn. But I think I'm still going to be shoving against his jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s. He's slightly over pot left. If he has a queen, it's a cooler. We block king, queen. He could have ace, queen, some random queen jacks, suited, whatever. But I don't think he will ever fold 8, 9s, 10s, jacks there. Could also bet small and try to induce a raise. Wouldn't be too bad either. Ace-8 off is certainly close. There are two unknowns, but there's a very good regular on the button, but I think it's worth it playing against the blinds. I mean, not unknowns, but like he seems to... He knows it. He reads my plan. Still nothing we can do there with Ace-8 off. Ace-5 suited is going to be a good 3-betting hand here. You can also raise fold this hand actually. I'm going to squeeze. I think especially button has a hard time continuing here. He's one tabling. Also one tabling. Now against two recreational, I'm just using a sizing that is according to my hand strength. Poker, Klucker, poker 8s, and we're gonna call these once on the flop. Unless he bets 2/3, I think then we can start consider folding. Against half pot, we have to call once. Here's a recreational, so I'm just going to raise a little bit bigger. I actually think that king, queen, ace, king, a 10 would be bad. Be betting. I think I'm going to be bluffing this river here. I think he very often has 9s to 3s. I mean ace, king, but like king, queen, king, 9. Oh, weak 10. All right, that's interesting. Checking back 10, 9. Gonna be isolating this guy here. It's definitely quite on the loose side. Loose is also quite close. Can be double barreling this board quite often. I think he's gonna be floating with a lot of king highs, some queen highs on this board. Just trying to protect against this overcards. Going for a second barrel with our flush draw. And then giving up on the river. He tanks a bit. Why would he tank and then snap bet? That was a bit of a loose call there on the turn. Probably very bad. I mean, it's actually, you know, you never know. It just, his mom might have entered the room and I don't know. He's two-tabling. Might be a regular board that I also want to be checking with a decent frequency. I can certainly just go for a check raise. I have my ace 10s, king 10s, queen 10s, jack 10s. I can be check calling with 8s, 9s. So my range is still very well protected. Check call is fine too, of course. Left me loose open. And we go for a c-bet. Ace queen, also totally fine to just call with a certain frequency. Going to call a delayed bet. Would expect him to barrel all most of his value hands. Could have 3s, 4s, 6s, some ace kings, of course. We have a lot of busted draws here, so I definitely want to bet on the very big sizing here. Actually, ace queen, we might consider value betting. I think any pair would be betting the river. If I play king queen, it would be just pure bluff 3-bet here. Definitely not 3-betting that with 100% frequency. I think I would fold 50% of the time and 3-bet 50% of the time without antes. What's up? I'm recording. Yes. Now you're on camera. Now you're on camera. No. Yes, you are. Here. I can see you because the camera is there and it catches you. How you creep behind the door. Say hello to YouTube.
Okay, let me know when you finish.
All right. Probably in 5 minutes. Yeah, she's very shy. King 10 suited, very nice hand. The 3-bet here, especially so deep. Airlines. For generation. Eight seven suited. I'm going to 3-bet against the button. Perfect hand. All right, let's play ace king suited. And then I'm going to wrap it up and king queen off as well. We're quite deep, so it could be a very interesting hand. And of course, we're going to 4-bet call against Curcuma. And I'm going to check back here. And of course we go broke. Nope. My main plus would be ace queen off, king queen. King queen is very good there since it blocks all his values, kings and queens, unblocks a lot of ace. I mean, it's also good to have an ace, don't get me wrong, but yeah. Sixes we're going to call. Going to raise here, ace jack off. All right, let's finish these two hands and then gonna wrap up this video, this live play. I'm going to fold against this delayed bet. I think that ace king, ace jack would be c-betting more often. I think his range is going to be defined more around 10x, pocket jacks. So easy fold here. Let's sit out next big blind. All right, we're gonna sit out the next big blind and then I'll wrap it up. It's one tabling, so might be a potential recreational player. And then set mining becomes way more appealing. King jack off. Gotcha to the nuts. I think we can also double barrel here. We might have some fold equity against the pure 6. Against something like 3s, 5s. We have 2 overs, gutter to the nuts. We can bluff an ace, especially a hard ace. With the king, with the jack. I think I'm going to bet pot. I think his range is very often 6-8, 9-8, 9-7. Not sure if he folds a 10, but let's see. Don't think he has so many double ace high floats, unless he has an a6 in hearts. Why is it not activated? Sit out next big blind. Just doesn't want to finish the session. I'm going to for an overbet here. We have all the ace kings, jacks, queen jack, ace queen. I would choose. I would probably also go more for a 2/3 sizing on the flop here. I really want to apply maximum pressure against jack 10s, queen 10s. He didn't raise the flop, so his range is fairly capped. This is actually a good river. We have 10 nines. We don't block clubs. I think I'm going for another overbet here. You can have all the queen X in clubs, jack X in diamonds, some 5x in diamonds, which block also a lot of bluffs, and he has a lot of natural folds. All right, guys, it was actually quite a good session. Most of the bluffs went good. We won some big all-ins, which is important. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have some feedback, questions, let me know in the comments. Yeah, make sure to join Discord, and then see you guys in the next video. Ciao.